guys from a podcast called This Podcast is Making Me Thursday Want to Talk to You. And I think and I said, you don't have to tell me what it's about. I said, if it's called This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty, you definitely don't need to tell me what it's about. And I'm going on. This is what I want to do.
It's a Seinfeld podcast. It's called This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty. But I thought, this is what a podcast should be.
I just did the Seinfeld guys pod the other day. It came up.
These pretzels are making me thirsty.
Oh,
that one. Shout out. We've done it. I've done it. Have you did it?
I've not gotten a chance to do it yet. I'm looking forward to it.
It's so fun. They're so fun.
When I don't know, it must have shown up in my feed, but I see these guys tweeting about Seinfeld. I'm like, oh, what's this? And I find it's a podcast called This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty.
One of the most popular Seinfeld podcasts is This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty, co-hosted by Chris O'Hara and Tony Chulo.
Welcome to This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty, the number one destination for Seinfeld fans. This is 2 Up and 2 Down. Here's our producer, Chris, to start us off.
Thanks for tuning back to 2 Up and 2 Down. Today we are doing the pilot from season 4. So, Chris, why don't you start us off with your first up?
The pilot, May 20th of 93. For you Cheers fans out there, I know producer, big Cheers fan. It was Cheers' last episode. So, I mean, talk about a lead-in. It's crazy though. Only 32.8 million people tuned in for Seinfeld, and then Cheers obviously crushed it. But interesting stuff. Also on that night, we always like to have some fun with this. Of course, Matlock was on ABC at 8 o'clock. CBS had the Color Purple movie. And Fox had a Simpsons repeat. So, I don't think anyone was bringing it against Seinfeld and Cheers this night. But again, folks, season 4, this is as good as it gets. We know this season. We know what it's all about, what led to the pilot. So here we go. Tons of ups. So where am I going to start? Where I'm going to start, I just really enjoyed it, was the casting scenes. For me, Michael Barth, of course, Piven. We had Hankin doing the Kramer. We had Kramer coming in as Kramer. All those guys walking in, doing their thing. The first guy who came in as George, I loved how excited George was because he had a full set of hair and was, I guess a good looking guy, whatever. Mariska Hargitay, we all know her. And what I loved about that was there had to be some realism to that because, Jerry probably during this run also handpicked a bunch of women. So I guarantee you he hopped in that casting chair a bunch of times as well. And I love the casting lady, Laura Waterbury, it just was perfect for what she was doing. And clearly, having a guy like Hirschfeld on set probably provided incredible guidance there. So for me, the reaction with the castings, right, from Barth and just the genuine laughter. I love George, Jerry, and I love Crespi and Kevin Page there. I love those guys together on the couch. Something about it. It just really set the tone and kicked off the first half of this episode in a great way. So that's the casting stuff's my first up.
Yeah, what I really liked about those scenes too is they actually used real scenes from the other episodes before it. So yeah, great stuff there. So definitely an up. Tony, over to you. What do you got for your first up?
Yeah, I mean, the casting stuff, at the time, too, just watching it, it's so meta, like Schmidt just said, it's very within the show. Listen, my first up, I'm just going to take it. I have to just take it because it's going to be big, but I mean, this is Costanza at his all-time best, in my opinion. This is one of the best. I mean, just going from with Gina Hecht, I thought you didn't believe in God. I do for the bad things. One of the greatest Costanza lines of all time. Then the whole discoloration stuff where you better get that checked out. Again with the checked out. And then the whole kids, get out of here. Biopsy, Jerry, biopsy, negative. Oh no. Everything he did, the raisin stuff. I'm not going to go there too much because I can go somewhere else. But my God, it was just like Costanza at his best, man. Every line he had, I can't die with dignity. I want to be the one person who doesn't die with dignity my whole life in shame. I mean, so many Costanza lines in this episode. Obviously, it was written by LD. Obviously, I'm sure there were some parallels to real life at some point. I mean, just the whole, again with the checked out. He's right. You're a doctor. You should say, cancer, get out of here. You didn't do that. You're crazy. The cab driver, same thing again with the checked out. Just such good, biopsy stuff. The way he says biopsy, Jerry, biopsy like 3 times. Then he finds out it's negative and he starts flipping out. He realizes, oh, negative's good. Why? I mean, for everything this episode. It's a long episode. There's a lot going on, but at the foundation of it is Costanza just doing his thing. Hypochondriac. Only believing God for the bad things. Incredible. Just so much packed in. Obviously, just one of the best Costanza episodes, in my opinion. And he had an hour to kind of just deliver on all cylinders. So that's my first up.
That was the very first note of ups that I put down was neurotic George at his best. So yeah, definitely deserving of an up. So Chris, over to you. What you got for your second up?
Yeah, definitely a lot there. I might double down on that. Because did you mention the George and Hankin kind of dynamic and stuff?
I stayed away from that. I think that's a lot of Hankin and a lot of I have that. You can go there.
All
I
right.
can go there. I'm not even going there with the Hankin.
I won't take it. You know what?
But I do agree.
You guys know I love. You guys know I love Russell. I'm going with Russell. From the Greenpeace stuff to the dinner with Elaine. And what's interesting is Elaine and Russell go to the same restaurant as Jerry and the other Elaine. I know they use the same set, but it's kind of funny. But I loved him flipping out on David Richardson, I believe the guy's name is. What's your name? David, I could get any woman in this city. He's going crazy. He's had a rough time. Clearly, Elaine blew him off, which, as we know, kind of blew up this whole thing. And then Rita Kirsten took over, as we know. So all of Russell's nonsense and obsession with Elaine just set the tone and just obviously led to the dismissal of the show, the whole thing. But I don't know. Something about Russell, like him just sitting there in the crowd, like, oh, mopey, and then going crazy on the phone and yelling and with Elaine. I liked it all. I think Bob Balaban just brought it. As we know, he was cast as the Warren Littlefield of NBC, the president of NBC at that time. So I think he played it perfectly. And then, you always like, where was Russell, right? Even during casting, I always wanted more Russell. Whatever it was, I wanted more of it. So he's going to get my second up. Again, I got a million ups, but for some reason, Russell always pops.
Yeah, that's a great character, that Russell Dalrymple character. So definitely an up. Over to you, Tony. What do you got for your second up?
Yeah, I agree that Russell's great. I do. So we'll get there, though. No, Hankin. Listen, I was going to give Hankin my other up, but as O'Hara kind of touched on it, I'm kind of piggybacking. I'm not going to go there, but I agree. I thought Hankin was great, friend of the show. How about I just hold your heart out of your chest? I mean, incredible stuff. But that's a lot of Costanza too. But even when he was talking to Kramer was great. I know I already gave us 2 ups, so I'm taking back in there. Hankin's not my second up, but easily could be. I just thought it was so great, his stuff there. I'll go with my second up. I'll go with the actual pilot, the Jerry, when they all go to the couch to watch it together. Elaine finds the wallet, my wallet's gone. But just the whole, the intro, the cheesy music, what Seinfeld would have been if they let execs run it at the time, and how sitcoms were. Even his furniture is very like L.A. and he's my butler. The whole thing there, the cheers and Jerry with the music and friend of the show. I think Pat Hazel comes out and does the warm up, and then Jerry does the warm up. Just real good, like meta stuff. You can see Melman at certain spots later on, but just everyone was around. Sharonis, just really good stuff. Just how they made it so cheesy, and obviously, like for those that that's how sitcoms were, so that's what they were doing, obviously, and it just played really well. And I love how they're all excited. Elaine, this is exciting. I like that part about it when they go to watch it. Kind of the Melrose Place watching, but now it's they're watching the pilot. I thought that was great. I love the way they did the opening scene with the whole thing. I think we talked to Jonathan Wolf about that too. That kind of music. So yeah, great. Show within the show. They tie it all together. Obviously, I'm a big Crazy Joe guy. Him running out there with the Latin, death to tyrants. All great stuff. So that's my second up.
All right, yeah, thank you, Tony. So that wraps up the ups. Back to you, Chris. Let's go with the downs. What do you got here?
Downs are tough, but I'm going to take his last up and make a down of it. I hate this. They are together at Jerry's, okay? Biggest moment of pretty much their career, right? This is it. And they're having chips and seltzer. Come on. I mean, get some champagne, order a big pizza, cater it up. Kramer's walking in late. No one's being late. You get there early. Jerry should be catered this whole thing. Should have a bigger party, just the four of them. Give me a break. Biggest moment of their life, and they're just having chips and seltzer. I'm sorry. They don't have to go crazy, but just something a little more, meaningful, right? Am I crazy here? I don't think so. So, and listen, they're again 30 years old. They're still with the seltzer and the chips. I mean, for the love of God, have a glass of wine to celebrate, will you? First down.
All right, a down for not knowing how to party. So, all right, thank you, Chris. Tony, over to you. What do you got for your first down?
Yeah, I mean that's O'Hara. That's O'Hara's thing. He's consistent with that. He loves knocking Jerry for that. Too much of a square. My first down. I'm glad he took that one because I thought he was going to take this one because I don't have any written down. I got 3 written down and I'm not happy with them. But I think he knows. I think I know. He knows where I'm going with this. The Kramer stuff. The Kramer. Yeah. I mean, you didn't take it. What am I going to do? Not take it? The Kramer stuff is. I mean, really, it's the whole Kramer storyline in general. But obviously, the running through the park and running through New York. We hate that Kramer double. I didn't even understand this. He couldn't go to the bathroom and he'll hold it in a little bit. And now you're constipated for days on end. The apparatus, they're talking about this apparatus. Like everyone knew what they were talking about. Everyone does this all the time. Like, you're watching this back then. I didn't know. I'm like, what is it? Obviously you figure it out, but like, is that a normal thing? I don't know. The whole thing, they gave Kramer something to do. It just wasn't great. They could have given Kramer anything but this. I thought the whole storyline fell flat. How he had to run to the bathroom. You get a Larry David, customers only. His voice there as he runs through the New York park. But altogether, I mean, that's a huge down. I know he was going to go there. I thought he was going to go there first. He left it on the table. Easy down for me is the Kramer bathroom stuff and running through the city looking for a bathroom. The whole thing there down.
Yeah, and I try to figure it out. Where's the NBC building down by Rockefeller Center? Yeah, so I looked, and I think Jerry's apartment is supposed to be like in the Upper West Side. If Kramer was running home, it would take him like 45 minutes to an hour to get home just by going on the streets. So yeah, it never made sense to me. That whole trying to find a bathroom bit. So Chris, back to you. What do you have for your second down?
I worked in that building. There's a ton of bathrooms. I don't want to hear it. There's, from the hallway to the basement at Rock Center, plenty of bathrooms. But I was watching this. I'm like, wait a minute, is this the kidney stone thing? I don't even know. I kind of got confused, but that was Katia. But so anyway, this is Tony's right. And again, I had that, but I didn't want to take it. Well, I do want to take it, but it was just a nice segue because you just said the party stuff. Maybe he did that on purpose somehow to make me know I was going to do the square stuff. But hey, folks, we're essentially doing this live. We don't look at each other's notes. We have no idea. We're coming in raw here. All right. I hate to do this, but it's more that we never saw him again. It was just like a one and done. The Monk's owner, it was kind of a weird storyline. He just bought the place, and then all his daughters worked there. I do like that storyline. I love those guys. The two, I don't know, the department of I don't know who Elaine saw, but they were sitting in Mrs. Sokol's office, that typical government office I liked. Then you mentioned Melman. I think it was Melman and Masters there at the end with all the big breasted women. But like, and that was it. Then we never heard from this guy again. He business was booming, right, at Monk's. I didn't see our friend Larry there. And then the next year he's gone. This guy, I thought he was a good owner. And I'm turning this into an up, I think, but like George at the end there, like talking to the owner, like, hey, like doing this little small talk thing with him. I'm just dying of laughter, like just George being that, like. But anyway, him not coming back, a one and done. I don't know. Never really sat well with me that they just got rid of him, and obviously his daughters, because business is booming. I don't get it. So one of those things just didn't tie in together, and he kind of came out of nowhere as well. These things take a long process, and I don't know. Not that Larry was the owner; he was just a manager. But the Monks kind of situation, I'm giving a slight down.
I see that, but yeah, maybe he sold the business when it was booming. When it was high, sell high. So all right, Tony, back to you. What do you got for your last down here?
Yeah, a couple of things there. Richard Gant was one of those cops, the black guy. He's also in Lebowski. He's the guy that goes to Lebowski's house and the Credence tapes. Plays that cop really well. He calls his partner and, hey, come in, I hear this, and then they all show up. Great stuff. Lawrence Manley said the same thing as O'Hara. He's like, I thought the guy with the big-breasted daughters was the owner of Monks. Now I'm coming in. The only thing I'll say there is the end of the season. Maybe that kind of they kind of let the thing kind of teeter off, and then they started a whole new thing up. But I thought about that watching today too, though. Like I thought about the Greek owner, and then it turned into Manley. Yeah, so my downs again. This is going to be a real nitpick, and it's a little bit against O'Hara's up to a degree. But I really only wrote two down. Like O'Hara said, we're doing this stuff live, and I'm not happy with this down. But as much as I love Dalrymple, and I think he's great, I thought they this storyline. I mean, over Elaine. And they kind of played it out a lot. I mean, it was the whole storyline. I mean, I'm not writing it as a big down. I wrote down not terrible, but I thought the first conversation at dinner was a little too long. And then, it's just a little bit out there, you got to have a down. I thought, it really was Elaine's storyline throughout, aside from the big breasted thing. And I think, they had to have Elaine do something, I suppose, while they're all shooting the show and everything like that. So I get why they did it. And I love Russell. But it's a little too hard. I mean, a little far-fetched. He goes off the deep end over seeing Elaine's cleavage on the catch-up episode and loses his mind. I mean, okay, I don't know about that, but it's it's a little. I think there was some Larry David in there with his ex-wife, wife at the time, and Lori with the whole Greenpeace stuff, and his job was in TV. I think it's probably something to that. If we ever get Larry on, we'll ask him. But I thought the Greenpeace stuff, you got Larry Charles and Larry David on a raft. I'm all in, but I thought it was a little too much Russell, maybe, if I'm nitpicking, and I am nitpicking, but that's going to be my down, I think. Just a little too much there with Elaine.
And listen, Russell is not Ted Danson here. He's a nerdy
she said
guy.
to him, you're the president of NBC. You can have any woman you want. What the heck you want me for? She even said it to him when they're having dinner.
But the reality is,
and remember when he had the nice piece of meat when George goes to the house, he had the model at the table with him.
Yeah, I remember her.
That's a nice piece of meat or whatever.
She was.
Oh my God! I mean, I get it. I'm just saying, you got to find out.
It's the Shik's appeal of Elaine, so that's what got to Russell there.
Oh yeah, no, you defended your guy. I get it. You're a Russell guy. You got to defend him.
All right, so that's the ups and the downs. So, Chris, back to you. Your final thoughts here, and what's your final grade for the pilot episode?
Listen, we all have our guys, right? Believe me, if I took a shot at Hankin, Tony would jump through the screen here. You know what I mean? Listen, the pilot, final episode of one of the best seasons in television history, perhaps, right? Or 3 or 5, however you want to shake it. Just opens up great, right? Again, with the sweatpants, right? We talked about that. Gina Hecht. The George conversation Tony mentions, not going to the doctor. If I go to the doctor, they'll find something. That's relatable. I think everyone kind of has that thought process as well. I talked about the casting. We didn't even touch on the raisins. Kramer and Hankin. I like Sex on the Bottom. I mean, boom, 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 boom. Sandy Robbins, friend of the show. I even enjoyed her. On this rewatch, even more, I appreciated her. Kissing Jerry, they're breaking up, the whole thing. They fooled me, Jerry. I mean, George stepping in with Sharonis there. I mean, it doesn't, to a true Seinfeld fan, it doesn't get better than that. Half the people listening, who's Sharonis? They'll look it up. One of the greatest directors of all time. That's who he is. Hankin, I don't like you. You're gonna rip your head off. Whatever he said. And George gave me that pep talk, and we'll go in my office. We'll talk about it someday. We'll laugh. I mean, just as good as it gets. Tony mentioned George. I'm just adding a couple more things here. He mentioned the actual pilot, amazing. The callbacks were great. My guy, our guy Ping, Sal Bass, you name it. Incredible stuff. Long story short, I can go on and on. The pilot's a clean A. It's that simple. I don't. You could argue A plus, but I think it had to be a little long. They had to touch on these things. They had to weave this all together, but they all brought it. I mean, Tony's probably. I don't know what Tony's thinking here, but he's a little tough on Elaine, a little tough on Kramer sometimes, but Jerry and George, which are the foundation of the show. That's what they're all about. And when they're hitting on all cylinders, doing their thing, plus all the incredible guest stars here and just the brilliant writing, I can't go lower than an A. So for me, the pilot capped off a wonderful season, and I think A is a fitting grade.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect anything lower than an A. And just going back to Larry Hankin, who played Tom Pepper, who obviously plays the Kramer character, his stare down of George at the buffet table at the set, where George double dips and he's just giving him the death stare. I love that. So yeah, just stuff like that. It would make this whole episode what you said it is, an A. So Tony, over to you. What's your final thoughts here?
Listen, Howard did a lot there. He's this summed up the entire season that we all love, the whole show within a show. You talked about, bringing everyone back, Ping and Sal Bass. How about Newman on the couch sleeping? 3-1 pitch to Mattingly. Absolutely love that. I mean, that's all I need is Newman on the couch of the Yankee game going on. 3-1 pitch to Mattingly. Unbelievable. Listen, I mean, the sweatpants, you're telling the world I give up, I'm miserable, so I might as well be comfortable. Incredible Jerry line to George. I mean, O'Hara swayed me. I was, he didn't just sway me. I kind of swayed myself as I was talking this through. I did have Elaine a little low, and I did have Kramer a little low. But, Kramer did well, too. He went into audition. He did his whole thing when Hankin and O'Hara's talking about. Hankin, unbelievable. O'Hara touched on it all, and I brought it up too. But, the dry, you have any problem with raisins, dates, any other dried fruit? Just incredible stuff there. The O'Hara mentioned, come to my office. We'll talk about the raisins. I love that, George. There's just, I have 2 pages of ups and a couple of downs I'm not even strong on. Yeah, I mean, there's no way around it. This is an A. The pilot's an A. I thought about an A minus earlier. Only, it's funny. It's one of the few hour episodes that didn't feel too long. I thought it had everything it needed to have. It kind of ended maybe twice or 3 times. That was a little bit weird. Like you thought it was over, then the Greenpeace stuff came back, and like I said, you got Larry Charles and Larry David on a raft. I mean, what? At that point, I'm all in. I mean, what are we doing here? That's incredible stuff. Yeah, I mean, the pilot season 4 wraps it up perfectly. As O'Hara said, clean A.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's why season 4 is so great. It ends on a great episode. And we appreciate you guys tuning in to see what we have to say. So I hope you join us for our next episode.